season. You know how the end of season be. It's really... Okay. What's going on, people? Gunsblazing back at it again, and we all know that Master Duel sometimes can be a huge scoop fest. But upon changing my name to something obnoxious like Rongo Incoming, I noticed a 15.4% increase in scoop rate from my opponents. Of course, I don't actually have Rongo in my deck. I'm trying Phantom Knights without Rongo, but the opponent won't know that until they actually check out my deck after the duel. So I'll just casually do my thing, do the core Phantom Knights combo, and then get 2 level 4s out and 2 level 3s out, and usually this is gonna make the Rongo and the Bamboozling Gossip, which turns into a 5-match Rongo. For most people, this is enough evidence that they are in fact boned and Rongo is coming out. And so you might be wondering, what happens when they don't scoop? And I'm glad you asked, because Phantom Knights is actually a decent deck even if you don't abuse Rongo. So here, obviously, we go out into our usual Phantom Knights combo, and we're actually going to be able to make use of this Cherubini, which is usually just sitting there after we have Rongo. All we have to do now is get Torn Scales and Greaves out, and then... Hello? There weren't even any threats yet. Anyways, back from the top, we have Underworld, but we have one of our Burning Abyss bricked in our hand, so we have to summon another... Really? On Cherubini? On Cherubini. Good thing about this deck, it has many flexible starters, including any of your dangers, because then they can just summon and then pick... On Jackalope, my dude? But yeah, even a hand like this isn't a brick, because you have danger. Even Ash is level 3, so you can make, what's it called off... I didn't even summon the danger yet! Okay, this makes a little more sense, because it's a burn player. And someone did tell me that some of these burn players are in fact not even humans but bots, and they auto scoop given certain conditions, so... Yeah, pretty scummy, but here we go. A full starting example with PK, no Rongo. So you go Underworld, summon Graff from the deck, and turn those two into Cherubini. Graff summons Sir from the deck. Gonna use Cherubini to send Torn Scales, because I already have Cloak in hand. Then I'm gonna link these two off into Rusty. And then Sir will pop from the grave and bring back Cherubini, which we'll be able to use later. Gonna go ahead and send Ragged Gloves and set the Brigandine. Ragged Gloves banish itself to send Fogblade to the grave, which will get the Torn Scales summoned out. Torn Scales will send the Cloak from the hand, as well as Boots from the deck. Cloak banished to search Greave and add it to the hand. Fogblade banished itself from the grave to summon Boots from the grave, which can now allow us to special summon Greaves from the hand, as well as pop our Trap, which becomes a level 4. And usually this is where you make a full Rongo, but we're not doing Rongo, so we make Evil Swarm Nightmare and Apollo USA. And I'm sure there's other variations you could do, but this is a solid enough board. We even have the Solemn Judgment and the Ash Blossom, plus the Phantom Knight's Wing to prevent one monster from any destruction. That's pretty solid. 1 hand trap, 3 monster negates, 2 monster floodgates, and the back row covers our weakness, which is our monsters don't have any innate destruction protection. And well, it is the end of the season, so people are running more weird decks in Plat now instead of always meta. But regardless, a board like this should be able to shut the opponent completely down if they are monster and combo heavy. But admittedly, it doesn't do too much against Eldritch and stun decks. Anyways, I see a nice opportunity to use one of my Apollo USA negates on this triple banish. And it's really based on your judgment whether you're going to shotgun Apollo USA on every monster effect you see or wait for the value ones like this. But that's effectively going to end his turn. And another great thing about Phantom Knights is that the turn 3 or even any follow-up turn is really strong. Just a lot of ways to generate and recycle your resources. Another thing about this deck is that it's decent going turn 2, as well as situations like this one where you get max siege, so you have to end your turn early and then just follow up the next turn. Like here, I'm just going to sit on this Jackalope, now give him the max siege challenge, and have the Pog Blade and a Droplet to make sure things don't get too out of hand. Turns out it's Cyber Dragons, which has a lot of OTK potential. I don't really have too much experience dealing with Cyber Dragons, so I just Fogbladed the first thing I saw. More Cyber Dragons are on their way. He gets the Near out, and he's also gonna get to summon 3 Cyber Dragons, 2 from the deck. This by itself is not game, but he does reveal that he has a Fusion Quick Play in the hand. Getting his Cyber End Dragon out. We get to go use our Droplet on this one and send the Fog Blade to the grave as a cost. And things are looking good for us. So we do have the Tour Guide in the hand. We picked it up from Jackalope last turn, and so we can pretty much go our full combo here. And there's a lot more things you can do when your opponent actually has things on the board already. And a way to simplify this is make sure with your Rusty or your Cherubini you send a Torn Scales to the grave, and the other one is usually going to send the Cloak. And then Torn Scales will just summon whenever you use the Cloak to banish itself from the grave. Cloak will usually search Greaves or Boots depending on the situation. But regardless, Phantom Knights of Breaksword becomes really valuable when they have things on the board. Summons to a zone that Rusty points to so you get that free destruction, and then you can destroy itself and one of their cards and summon 2 more back from the grave. Dark Rebellion is a nice monster for dealing with those high attack monsters that you usually won't be able to swing over. We do have the rank up available too. I'll show you this deck list with and without rank up. But even without it, you have access to so many finishers. I'm going to go ahead and link climb this up into access code Talker, which is going to be 5,300 plus a few pops. So this is how I'm running it. I think this is the most balanced way to go. So you can go turn 1, turn 2, and still have room enough to fit in some key cards to counter popular decks, including some back row removal and 3 droplets or whatever going second card you like. And again, 1 or 2 Solemn Judgment covers the weakness of the deck. The deck naturally has a lot of monster negates, but not really anything to deal with spells like Lightning Storm, although it does have some pretty good recovery in case you do get board cleared. And obviously there's no competitive reason to not run Rongo. He's literally plug and play for this deck. Just drop one of the links like IP Mask. And then we also have the rank up version, which includes the rank up quick play spell and the Xyz dragons like Requiem and Arc Rebellion. And I get why people like them. They're cool cards, they're flashy, they have big effects, but they do feel kind of redundant. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but everything these two do, your deck already has plenty of it available. Arc Rebellion does have a board-wide negate, but it's mainly used as a finisher, and this deck already has a lot of OTK potential as we just saw. And Requiem is just more monster negates, but we already have that with Apollo USA and the Fog Blades, as well as F-Zero. So there's gotta be a point where, like, we have enough monster negates. Usually one of my first duels with this deck, trying to figure this one out. As you can see, our end board was a little scuffed, but the power of Evil Swarm Nightmare sometimes is really ridiculous. This guy chose to go second and had an activation prompt all the way through my turn, so obviously it's some kind of Numeron cheese. This one just so happens to be running the God cards alongside. I cycloned this, which is kind of questionable because I could just save it for the Numeron field spell. And as we knew, he did have the Numeron wall in hand, which he can just use to get it. But the nice thing is that all of these are summoned at the same time, and so Evil Swarm Nightmare can go ahead and flip all of these at once. He goes ahead, tribute summons for Winged Dragon of Ra, goes ahead and pays 7,900 and plays a Kaiser Coliseum. But as it turns out, this Leviair and this random Cloak summon will not be completely useless. We got a nice Underworld for our draw, but we can't really use her. We have to deal with the Coliseum first. So we go Nightmare Phoenix, discard the Tour Guide, and destroy the Kaiser Coliseum. Otherwise, our summons are going to be very limited. He uses Called by the Grave on my Boots here, which it doesn't exactly do nothing, but I guess he thought Leviair summons from the Banish pile instead of the graveyard. That doesn't even prevent like a Boots from my hand special summoning itself onto the field. It will prevent me from using its graveyard effect, but that doesn't really matter. I'm going to get my Break Sword out, deal with the face down first. Break Sword is going to summon 2 Phantom Knights from the grave and turn them into level 4. I can go ahead and make Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. Go ahead and steal all of your Chicken Nuggets attack points, juicy. Tried to get the spell Trap Search. Oops, forgot it's Called by the Grave, sorry. Turn these 3 into access code. That's going to be 4,300. Gonna be able to pop the Numeron field spell as well as the Ra, and don't forget he does have the Immortal Ra from the grave because he sent it way earlier in the duel. But it comes out nice and perfect. We can just swing over that and hit him in the face for 6,450. And a little something something. Gotta get the trap cards activated for the trap card daily quest. Anyways, it's nearing the end of the season. You know how the end of season be. It's really... okay. You know how the end of the season is. Even decks like Blue Eyes have finally found their way to Platinum after a month of grinding. But even more turn 2 potential shenanigans. Honestly, I think the rank 4 Xyz Dragon is good by itself. Like, you don't even need to rank him up. He's just a solid card on his own. Him and Break Sword are really good for busting through whatever board that your opponent has. This turn was yet another potential Rongo. This deck churns out multiple summons like it's nobody's business. We're pretty much going to be able to send all of our Phantom Knights monsters to the grave, meaning we can banish a Boots to get our level 4 trap. Go ahead and turn these 2 into Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragons so we can suck up the Blue Eyes nice and good. Even have Levier and Tsuchinoko in the hand, so we can get 2 more level 3s out. Turn those 2 into Breaksword, of course. We get to pop the remaining Blue Eyes. Resummon 2 monsters as usual. And that's enough for game, so we're not going to drag it out with another summon. And I'd like to give a shout out to today's video sponsor,